and trying to sound out the situation. Boss, that young man. He's too arrogant. Relying on that badge, he dares to ignore you. Can we just let this go? Zhang San's father also regained his senses, enduring the pain as he nodded in agreement. Exactly. Captain Zhao, you're a respected figure in our county. What's Chu Jing? Just lucky enough to flatter Miss Wang. Uffed. I think that badge might be fake, or he stole it. The two of them kept talking, trying to stir trouble, and hoping Captain Zhao would continue to confront Chu Jing. Captain Zhao finally turned slowly, giving the pair a cold glance filled with disdain and mockery. Haha, enough of this nonsense. Want to use me as a pawn to deal with Chu Jing? Do you think you're worthy? Zhang San's father and Wang Er's faces turned red and white with embarrassment and disappointment. Let me be honest with you. Captain Zhao brushed non-existent dust off his plain clothes, speaking calmly. I have no grudge against Chu Jing. Yesterday, I was following orders from 3rd Young Master Wang, and today, I was tricked by you. Now, he has Miss Wang's token. I don't need to risk offending her over your petty issues. His words were straightforward, and Zhang San's father and Wang Er felt their hopes fade. It seemed Captain Zhao was about to back down. But suddenly, Captain Zhao's tone shifted, lowering his voice with a sinister edge. However, Chu Jing and 3rd Young Master Wang have a real feud. Where the truth isn't enough, they'll go behind the scenes. The imperial marriage decree clearly states who should marry whom. Chu Jing, a rogue, is legally only allowed to marry outside his status. Yet now he's got 2 stunning women by his side. A mocking smile appeared on his lips as he added, this mismatch is a perfect excuse for trouble. As long as we focus on this point, we can make a big fuss about corruption and official deception, spreading the news to the right people. When that happens, even Miss Wang will have to consider the law of the court. Her 2 illegitimate wives will be officially taken back by the authorities, and no one can say otherwise. Zhang San's father and Wang Er listened eagerly, promising to follow any orders. Captain Zhao was pleased and hummed softly. He looked again toward Chu Jing's direction, his eyes flashing with cold light. Let's see what happens, he muttered, turning to leave with his men. Behind the hill, only dark schemes and plots remained. The ox cart creaked as it entered Heiyang County, stopping in front of a newly bought small courtyard on the east side of the city. The 3 women looked at the tidy walls and black wooden door, their eyes shining with excitement. This is their new home. Although small, it is real and belongs to them, a place to shelter from the wind and rain. Chu Jing unlocked the door and pushed it open. Sunlight poured into the courtyard, illuminating the smooth, blue stone floor. The 3 women eagerly stepped inside, curious and happy, examining each room, planning where to sleep, cook, and where to set up experiments for their husband. Lin Jiro was already looking at the empty space in the backyard, thinking about what to plant there. Chu Jing watched their busy, lively figures. The feeling of unrealness from leaving Shaha village gradually faded, replaced by a deep sense of stability and responsibility. He must make this home truly steady and safe. After settling the luggage and tidying up briefly, Chu Jing sat on the only chair in the main hall, his brow unconsciously furrowed. Buying the house solved the living problem, but his household registration as a rogue household hadn't changed. At most, he had a place in the city and became a client. Clients are a bit better than vagrants, but according to the marriage order, he could only have 1 wife. It's not inferior, but it's not enough to change his current situation. Thinking about Wang Xianzong and Captain Zhao's subtle glances and their possible threats to use the marriage order against him, Chu Jing felt a headache coming on. Relying entirely on Wang Qingyao's protection is not his style. What if Wang Qingyao can't protect herself one day, or decides to give up on him after weighing the pros and cons? He must have his own backup plan. After the 3 wives finished tidying up, they saw Chu Jing sitting alone with a furrowed brow. They couldn't help but stop what they were doing and gather around him. Husband, what's wrong? Is something bothering you? Gua Xiaolan asked softly, being the most perceptive. Lin Jiro also moved closer, her eyes full of concern. Husband, is it because you're not used to living in the city? Or is someone still trying to cause trouble for us? Li Lingxue didn't speak. She quietly poured a cup of warm water, placed it beside Chu Jing, and then looked at him with her bright, slightly shy eyes, quietly watching him. Chu Jing looked at their caring faces and felt warm inside. He didn't want to hide anything, so he briefly explained the awkwardness with the household registration and the possibility that Wang Xinzhong might use the marriage decree to make things difficult. Basically, it's because my current status is too low, just a client. Others find it too easy to control me, Chu Jing sighed. The 3 women looked serious when they heard this. They had experienced too much pain from being treated unfairly because of their low status. They understood that Chu Jing's worries were not unfounded. After a moment of silence, Li Lingxue, who had been quietly listening, suddenly looked up. Her voice was soft but clear. Husband, you are so talented, so good at couplets, so knowledgeable. Why don't you take the imperial exam? She seemed to gather her courage, her cheeks slightly red, and continued. Now it's late October. I remember. In early November, there will be the county exam. Passing the county exam and the prefectural exam makes you a scholar. With the scholar title, your status will be different. Then, those people won't be able to easily use household registration to trouble us. She paused, her voice even softer. I guess, perhaps you didn't take the exam earlier because the world was unstable, or for other reasons. But now, since things are stable, why not give it a try? Gua Xiaolan and Lin Jiro's eyes lit up when they heard this, and they nodded repeatedly. Liang Xue is right, Lin Jiro said. Husband, you're so clever, you can definitely pass. Gua Xiaolan also nodded. With a good reputation, things will be much easier. Since you are talented, why not try? I also know some writing. Maybe I can help you study. We can do it too. Lin Jiro and Li Lingxue quickly agreed. Chu Jing looked at them with some surprise. Gua Xiaolan was familiar with some literary skills, which did not surprise him. However, he was amazed that these 2 young girls also knew how to read and write. But thinking about their previous knowledge at the pharmacy and his own guesses, he felt it made sense. Li Lingxue surprised him the most. Usually, she was timid and quiet, but at a critical moment, her mind was so sharp. She understood the schedule and importance of the imperial exams clearly. It seemed her background was more than just somewhat literate. However, her suggestion truly awakened Chu Jing. Yes, the imperial exams. Didn't the system just reward him with the advanced guide to imperial examinations? All the knowledge and test-taking skills from a student to a successful candidate were now in his mind. He had been wondering what this skill was for, but now he saw the purpose. Having a title would elevate him beyond the lowest social classes of scholar, farmer, merchant, craftsman, and make him a candidate for the scholar class. Even as a student, his social status and voice would be completely different. A student could be assigned 3 excellent wives. If Wang Xianzhong tried to find trouble with the excuse of a rogue household pairing with a good wife, it would be much harder. Moreover, the imperial exams were the most legitimate way to rise in society, the real foundation for him to stand firm in this world. Ling Xue, you're right. Chu Jing's spirit lifted. He held Li Ling Xue's hand. I was too narrow-minded before. Success in the exams is essential, and I must do it quickly. The young girl's hand trembled slightly, but she did not pull away. Li Ling Xue blushed from his grip, and hearing his praise, her face turned red, but her eyes shone with happiness. But after the joy, real problems arose. Chu Jing only had a rough understanding of the exam process in this era. To register, one needed qualifications, either being a recognized student in an official academy or having existing titles like a scholar or a recommended candidate. He was unfamiliar with the area around Heian County, and the only scholar he knew was Wang Xiaocai from Xia Village. But Wang Xiaocai was just a scholar himself, with little influence. Asking him for a guarantee could be risky and might even bring trouble to Wang Xiaocai. So, the most suitable candidate seemed to be only one. Chu Jing's eyes flickered as he said to the 3 girls, "You all rest well at home and tidy up the house. I need to go out and take care of something." "Where are you going, husband?" Guo Xiaolan asked. "Go find Miss Wang," Chu Jing said plainly. Taking the imperial exams requires a recommendation and a guarantor. Miss Wang is from the Wang family of Langya. If she steps in, things will go much more smoothly. And he looked at his 3 wives seriously. Since we've decided to pursue the imperial exams, we need to inform Miss Wang in advance. See if she can help us block any trouble, or if there's a better way. The 3 women understood Chu Jing's plan. Though a little worried, they knew this was the best option right now. "Husband, go early and return early," Guo Xiaolan said softly, handing him a coat. "It's getting cold. Put on some clothes." Lin Jiro and Li Lingxue also looked at him eagerly. Chu Jing felt warm inside. He took the coat, put it on, and gently ruffled their hair one by one. Lin Jiro and Li Lingxue looked at him with gentle, happy expressions, seeming to enjoy his actions. Guo Xiaolan just slightly tilted her head, her ears turning red, but she didn't refuse. Chu Jing then turned around and strode out confidently, heading toward the natural residence. The sunlight shone on his tall figure, giving off a sharp, determined aura. When Chu Jing entered the natural residence again, the shopkeeper Yun Bo recognized him immediately. Respectfully, he led him straight to a private room on the 2nd floor. Wang Qingyao seemed to be working on the accounts. Seeing Chu Jing, she put down her brush and showed a genuine smile. "Young Master Chu has arrived? Have you settled into your new home? Thank you for your concern, Miss Wang." "Everything is settled," Chu Jing said directly. He didn't beat around the bush. He explained briefly that Wang Xinzhong might try to cause trouble over the marriage decree and household registration issues, and he shared his plan to take the imperial exams to break the deadlock. Wang Qingyao listened. Her beautiful eyebrows first furrowed slightly, then relaxed. When she heard Chu Jing wanted to take the imperial exams, her calm eyes suddenly brightened, like a lake rippling with stones, showing clear happiness. "Young Master Chu wants to pursue the imperial exams? That's a great decision." Her voice carried a rare excitement. "To be honest, I've had the same idea before. You are talented. It would be a shame to stay in the countryside. Passing the exams and entering official service is the real path to success." Her quick mind immediately thought of even deeper benefits. If Chu Jing gained fame, even as a scholar, his status would be completely different. By relying on his talent and his own efforts, he might someday secure a government position. At that time, he would not only be her business partner, but also a potential supporter in the court or local government. This is much more valuable than just financial cooperation. "Young master, rest assured, this matter is on Qin Yao," Wang Qin Yao said confidently. "There are a few remaining spots at Heian County School. I will speak to them and get you enrolled. With the status of a student at the county school, you can participate in the county exam properly." She paused briefly and continued. "This year's county exam in Heian is scheduled for mid-November at the local testing site. You just need to be listed as a student at the county school, and they will handle the registration. The provincial exam will be in January next year, in Qinyuan Prefecture City. From Heian, it's less than 2 days by fast horse or boat, so there's plenty of time." She didn't seem worried about whether Chu Jing could pass the county exam. She looked at Chu Jing and advised, "Before the exam, you might need to visit the county school a few times, attend some classes, and go through the motions. Since you have a spot, if you don't show up at all, the school might look bad." Chu Jing nodded in understanding. "That's natural. I understand the rules. Thank you, Miss Wang, for arranging this." "Young Master Chu, no need to be polite," Wang Qingyao said with a gentle smile. "Since we are working together, we should support each other. If you have a bright future, it's also good for Qingyao." She paused and hinted, "Once you gain fame and success, many of the problems that seem difficult now might be easily solved." Chu Jing understood her hint and nodded to himself. With Wang Qinyao's support, the road to the imperial exams was halfway paved. "Thank you, Miss Wang, for your great help. I will do my best and not let you down," he said sincerely. Then he added, "I am also preparing for Miss Wang's plans and won't delay." Wang Qingyao smiled and nodded. "Qingyao trusts you." After finishing the main business, Chu Jing stood up to leave. Wang Qingyao personally saw him to the door of the elegant room, watching him go downstairs, her eyes shining with a mix of anticipation and calculation. Leaving the Tianran residence, Chu Jing felt much lighter. He took a detour to the blacksmith and carpenter shops where he had ordered tools before. Sure enough, money can make miracles happen. He hurriedly paid the full amount, and the items, strange-shaped copper jars, tubes, sieves, condensation devices, and specially made wooden racks, were all finished and neatly stacked in the back of the shop. Chu Jing checked everything. Although the craftsmanship was a bit rough, it mostly met his needs and was enough for initial experiments. He paid the remaining money happily and even gave extra as a tip. He hired a cart to carefully transport this pile of odd-looking items back to the small courtyard in the east of the city. When the cart stopped at the courtyard gate, the three wives, who were cleaning in the yard, curiously gathered around. Husband, what are these? Lin Jiro looked at the shiny copper objects with strange shapes, her eyes full of curiosity. They are tools for making things, Chu Jing said mysteriously, guiding the driver to move the items into a spare room. He planned to use this room as his laboratory for now. Gua Zhaolan picked up a copper jar with a spiral seal lid and a thin tube, examined it carefully, and a hint of surprise flashed in her eyes. With her knowledge, she had never seen such delicate yet mysterious tools before. She looked up at Chu Jing, who was busy tidying up, her curiosity and desire to explore growing stronger. Li Lingxue carefully observed the sharp copper sieves and strange condensation tubes, feeling a bit respectful and afraid to touch them. After everything was moved inside, the payment was made, and the yard returned to peace. The sunset cast a golden glow over the yard. The new tools lay quietly in the room, waiting to be given a purpose. Chu Jing stood in the yard, looking at his tidy home, and at his wife, some curious, some gentle, some calm, who were all watching him. He also thought about the imperial exam path ahead, and a sense of confidence and pride filled his heart. The imperial exams, fame, business, protecting his family, and facing potential enemies. So many things to consider, but the road was now under his feet. He took a deep breath of the cool evening air, his eyes bright and firm. Tomorrow, I'll report to the county school. Then, I'll really get to work. But for now, since there was still time, Chu Jing decided to finish what he promised Wang Qingyao. He set out immediately, carrying over 900 taels of silver notes. On his way back, he was followed by 3 fully loaded horse-drawn carts, almost filling the small yard and leaving no space to step. Hubby, how much silver did this cost? Lin Jiro looked at the many porcelain jars, wooden buckets, various flowers and herbs, fats, live blocks, and plenty of drinks around the yard. She was so surprised she forgot about her limp and took a couple of quick steps forward. Chu Jing brushed the dust off his hands and chuckled. Not much, just over 800 taels. Over 800 taels. Both young wives gasped at the same time, their faces turning pale. Chu Jing had spent almost all the money he got from Wang Qingyao, which was 1,000 taels. Gua Zhaolan stayed calm, but her eyes were full of hope. Since the starting funds were nearly gone, keeping track of expenses became the most important task. Chu Jing sorted the purchased materials into categories and asked Lin Jiro and Li Lingxue to count and record everything. At first, the two girls held brushes and recited what Chu Jing told them. 120 gin of pig fat, 8 ounces of dried jasmine flowers, 30 jars of strong liquor. They looked worried, their eyebrows knitted. Although their handwriting was neat, the units and quantities were easy to confuse. Seeing them biting their brushes, sweating nervously but afraid to speak, Chu Jing felt amused. Suddenly, he remembered some modern knowledge from the system. Wait, I'll teach you a simpler way. He took a piece of charwood and drew on a flat stone table. Look, this is 1, this is 2, this is 10. Chu Jing wrote down the 10 Arabic numerals from 0 to 9. When counting, just use these. They're easy to write and much simpler than our usual characters. Lin Jiro and Li Lingxue stared wide-eyed at the strange symbols. What are these characters? They don't look like our script, Li Lingxue whispered. These are Arabic numerals, used specifically for counting. Come, I'll teach you to recognize them. Chu Jing patiently explained each one. Surprisingly, the two girls showed quick understanding of the numbers. In just 15 minutes, they learned to recognize all of them and could do simple addition and subtraction. Chu Jing took the opportunity to introduce the modern ledger format. Date, item name, unit, stock in, stock out, and balance. Using Arabic numerals made everything clear and easy to understand. For example, today we received 120 gin of pig fat, so we write 120 here, with the unit g dot. Chu Jing explained while demonstrating. Lin Jiro tried to imitate on another piece of paper with a charcoal pencil, writing, dried jasmine flowers. 8, 2. Although her strokes were rough, the format was neat, and the numbers clear. She looked at the line she had just written. Her once shy eyes gradually brightened, as if she had discovered a new world. Li Lingxue learned quickly. Soon, she could organize her messy notes into a clear, new ledger format. She looked up, her pale face flushing with excitement. Her eyes sparkled as she said to Chu Jing, Husband, this way of recording is so clear. I can see at a glance how much is left, and I won't make mistakes. Gua Zhaolan had been quietly watching from the side. Her gaze shifted from the strange numbers to the simple table, then to Chu Jing's serious side profile. She was good at math and had even learned some foreign counting methods. But such a simple, organized, and efficient way of keeping accounts was unheard of. This was not something an ordinary person could think of. Her look at Chu Jing was filled with her usual gentleness and trust, but deep inside, a subtle, hard-to-explain wave of emotion was stirring. Her husband seemed to hide secrets that were even more surprising than she had expected. Chu Jing watched the two young women's faces change from nervous to confident and glowing. He felt proud and ruffled their hair, saying, See, I told you, you have talent. From now on, you two will be the accountants of our family. Lin Jiro nodded firmly. For the first time, she felt truly needed and useful. We will do our best. Li Lingxue also promised softly but confidently. The courtyard was filled with a joyful atmosphere of discovering new things and looking forward to the future. Just then, the courtyard gate was gently knocked. Is young Master Chu here? Came Wang Qingyao's clear voice. The door was open. Wang Qingyao entered gracefully with her maid Qing. She was dressed in a light blue dress with a moon-white silk outer garment, elegant and refined. She held a delicate letter in her hand. As soon as she entered, she saw the courtyard filled with materials and 4 people gathered around a stone table. Chu Jing was pointing at the strange symbols on the table, talking about something. His 3 wives watched intently, their faces showing a strange, radiant expression. Young Master Chu is. Wang Qingyao asked curiously as she approached. Miss Wang, please sit, Chu Jing said, standing up to greet her. He casually wiped the stone table with his sleeve. We're just teaching them a new way of keeping accounts. A new way of bookkeeping? Wang Qingyao's eyes flickered slightly as she naturally looked toward the stone table. When she saw the so-called strange symbols and the clear charts, her pupils suddenly contracted. With her intelligence and experience, she quickly understood the powerful advantage of this counting and bookkeeping method. Simple, hard to confuse, easy to calculate, and greatly more efficient. These symbols are, she pointed at the Arabic numerals, her voice tinged with a barely noticeable urgency. Oh, these are called Arabic numerals. They come from overseas and are much faster to write than our characters, making calculations easier, Chu Jing casually explained, demonstrating addition and subtraction. Wang Qingyao watched intently. As Chu Jing demonstrated, her calm face melted away like spring ice, replaced by growing shock and disbelief. She manages natural residents and other industries, so she knows how complicated and important accounting is. Monthly audits take a lot of effort and can easily lead to mistakes. These seemingly simple symbols and charts are like magical tools designed for managing huge accounts. She raised her head, and her gaze at Chu Jing changed completely. Before, she admired his quick wit and brewing talent, happy to see potential in him. But now, her eyes were complex, like turbulent clouds, filled with shock, joy, and a nearly burning curiosity. Just casually discovering a down-and-out refugee who not only has literary talent and extraordinary bearing, but also holds such revolutionary knowledge. This isn't just talent, it's a walking treasure chest. How many incredible things does he still have in his mind? Next to her, Qing'er initially didn't pay much attention, just thought the symbols looked strange. But seeing her young lady's rare expression of panic, she looked more carefully at the chart, trying to understand. Her eyes widened, her mouth unconsciously opened as she looked from the stone table to Chu Jing's calm face, as if she had seen a ghost. Wang Qingyao took a deep breath, trying to calm her turbulent emotions. Her voice still trembled slightly. Young Master Chu, may I ask if we can discuss this method in detail? Qingyao is willing to pay a heavy price to learn this bookkeeping technique. Chu Jing looked at the eager Wang Qingyao, then glanced at his three wives nearby, still flushed with excitement and admiration, and smiled slightly. Yes, it seems that this traveler's basic skills, no matter where they go, are a powerful surprise. He smiled and said to Wang Qingyao, Miss Wang, you are too polite. This method is not a secret, and since you're interested, we can discuss it slowly. By the way, what brings you here this time? Only then did Wang Qingyao remember her main purpose. She gently placed the invitation card on the stone table, but her action was 10 times more serious than when she arrived. This is the official invitation to the county school for the young master. However, it seems that the card I brought today is quite modest compared to what the young master has shown me. As she spoke, her eyes held a bit of hope, and she looked at Chu Jing with a hint of lingering curiosity. I wonder, young Master Chu, could you tell me more about the secrets behind these numbers? Hearing this, Chu Jing nodded with a smile. It seemed that these numbers and algorithms had a strong appeal to this successful businesswoman in front of him. Thinking that she would be his greatest partner in the future, Chu Jing decided not to keep anything secret. The sunlight was just right. By the stone table in the small courtyard, a small class began, an introduction that challenged traditional arithmetic thinking. Chu Jing took a charcoal stick and drew on rough paper. Look, this means add, this dash means subtract, times is multiply, and divided by is divide. With these symbols and Arabic numerals, plus the vertical calculation method I will teach you, he explained while demonstrating a few simple addition, subtraction, multiplication, and division problems. His steps were clear and easy to understand, without the need for complicated counting rods. The three women and Wang Qingyao's servants around the stone table watched with wider and wider eyes. Lin Zhiro looked at Chu Jing easily solving a 3-digit multiplication that used to take her ages with counting rods. Her mouth formed an O. Husband, this is too fast. No need for counting sticks. Li Lingxue carefully copied Chu Jing's vertical calculation on her paper, writing 123, 456, and following the rules step by step. When she got the answer, 579, she looked up, her eyes full of amazement. It really came out instantly. So clear, Gua Zhaolan didn't speak immediately. She carefully examined the formulas and steps Chu Jing wrote down, silently calculating more complex problems in her mind. The more she thought, the more shocked she looked. This method went straight to the core, eliminating all unnecessary steps. Its simplicity and efficiency seemed made for quick, large calculations. She looked at Chu Jing with tenderness, but also with deep curiosity. Where had her husband learned such astonishing skills? Wang Qingyao was just as shocked as the three women, even more so. As someone who managed many businesses, she knew how complicated and error-prone calculations could be, and how much they slowed down accounting work. Every month, the accountants would carefully check the accounts, tapping on the abacus and frowning. This was a scene she knew well. But the symbols and arrangements before her looked like a sharp sword, easily cutting through all the chaos. She couldn't help but pick up a charcoal stick and try solving a problem involving money flow herself. When she got the right answer quickly, she looked up at Chu Jing, her eyes filled with more than simple surprise, like she had discovered a rare treasure, glowing with excitement. Young Master Chu, this method is like magic. Wang Qingyao's voice trembled with excitement. If used in a shop's accounting, it would be 10 times faster, and the clarity, 100 times better. Chu Jing felt a little embarrassed under their admiring gazes, but he secretly thought, if my classmates from my past life, who suffered through 9 years of compulsory education, saw this, they'd probably all lose their jobs as accountants. Adding, subtracting, multiplying, and dividing in vertical form is already amazing. Wouldn't algebra and calculus blow their minds? He waved his hand casually. Just small tricks, just small tricks. Once you understand the pattern, anyone can learn it. You're too modest, young master. Wang Qingyao sincerely admired him. Such small tricks would make countless accountants ashamed. Your skill in arithmetic is truly profound. Speaking of calculation tools, Chu Jing suddenly remembered something and asked casually, Miss Wang, besides mental math, do you use abacus? Is there a device with beads that can be moved to calculate, called an abacus? He remembered that in his previous life, the abacus appeared during the Eastern Han, the Northern and Southern dynasties, or maybe during the Tang and Song periods. Some said it was from the late Yuan or early Ming. He was in a different era now, a dynasty not recorded in his past life's history. Given the setting of noble families, it was roughly similar to the Sui or Tang period. He wasn't sure if the abacus had appeared yet. Abacus. Wang Qingyao paused, thought for a moment, then shook her head firmly. Qingyao has never heard of such a thing. Calculations, besides using counting sticks, are mostly done mentally, with some notes on paper. Sir, what does the abacus look like? Could it be a strange foreign device? Chu Jing was slightly surprised. There was no abacus, only counting sticks. It seems the abacus has not yet appeared. Then he felt a little happy. Wang Qingyao had helped him get into school, and he still didn't know how to thank her. He smiled faintly and said, "Oh, it's nothing. I just thought of a possibly more convenient small tool. Once I figure it out, I'll show it to Miss Wang. Maybe it will surprise you, and I'll consider it repaid for your help in getting me into the county school." Wang Qingyao became curious, but saw Chu Jing being mysterious, so she didn't ask further. She just smiled and said, "Then I'll wait and see." At this moment, her eyes were drawn to the yard, where some organized copper and wooden racks still looked quite large. She asked, "Young Master Chu, are these the items you bought? What are they for?" Chu Jing looked at her gaze and chuckled. "These are to help Miss Wang open a new path, to lay the foundation for building a kingdom. As for the details, let me keep it a secret for now. You'll find out later." Seeing the strange, expensive-looking tools, Wang Qingyao guessed that Chu Jing had spent all his money, about 1,000 taels. She hesitated slightly, and signaled to Qing'er beside her. Qing'er understood, and took out a few silver notes, handing them over. "Young Master Chu," Wang Qingyao said sincerely, with unquestioning trust. "Buying these materials must have cost a lot. Take this 1,000 taels first. If it's not enough, you can come to me anytime. Since we've decided to work together, Qingyao trusts you. Just go ahead." Chu Jing looked at the 1,000 taels in front of him and was stunned. He knew Wang Qingyao believed in him, but he didn't expect her to trust him so much. This meant he had received 2,000 taels in startup funds without giving anything in return, and he would keep 50% of the profits later. This girl was really bold. Was she not afraid he would run off with the money? Or that he couldn't produce anything? Her full support warmed Chu Jing's heart, even making him a little touched. He was not a sentimental person, so after a brief pause, he took the silver notes and said seriously, "Miss Wang's trust means a lot. I, Chu, will not let you down." He thought for a moment and then smiled mysteriously. "All right, Miss Wang, if you're free tomorrow, why not come again? I might have a surprise for you." Hearing this, Wang Qingyao's bright eyes lit up with anticipation. "Oh, what wonderful thing does young master have? I will definitely come on time tomorrow." Filled with curiosity and excitement, Wang Qingyao and her servant left the small courtyard. Chu Jing held a silver note with a faint ink smell, looking at the experimental equipment in the yard that seemed full of future potential. He thought about the simple abacus design in his mind and felt very hopeful about the future. After some thought, he left the courtyard and went to a nearby carpenter's shop. He drew the design for the abacus and explained how to make it. Once the carpenter understood, Chu Jing ordered 5 abacuses and asked them to be delivered to his home before evening. After paying, he returned to the small courtyard. Seeing the strange tools in the yard, he felt very motivated. "Lan'er, Jiro, Ling Shui, come help." Chu Jing rolled up his sleeves, full of energy. "Our big plan to get rich is starting now." He officially named the side room the workshop. Although his 3 wives didn't understand what a workshop was, they were excited to see their husband's enthusiasm. Guo Xiaolan was the most efficient and took charge of cleaning the newly made copper parts. "Husband, there are some burrs at the joints that need polishing to prevent leaks." She spoke while skillfully handling fine sand, her focused and professional look making Chu Jing secretly admire her again. Lin Jiro was assigned to organize the dried herbs, oils, and alkali blocks she had purchased. She carefully sorted jasmine, osmanthus, roses, and other dried flowers, her bright eyes shining. "Husband, can these fragrant flowers really become perfume? Like the exotic scents in ancient books from the western regions? Even better than that." Chu Jing confidently moved a large copper distillation pot onto a makeshift stove and fixed it in place. "What we're making will be pure and long-lasting in fragrance." Li Lingxue was a bit weaker, but very careful. Chu Jing asked her to handle weighing and recording. "Shui, use the new numbers and ledger method I taught you to keep track of how much of each ingredient we use." Chu Jing handed her a small balance scale and a charcoal pencil. "Okay." Li Lingxue nodded firmly, took the scale, and looked very serious, like a young accountant. She first wrote the date and project on Chu Jing's special experiment notebook, then carefully began weighing the ingredients. Her focused expression made Chu Jing smile and gently ruffle her hair. Once everything was ready, Chu Jing officially started the process. The first step was the most important, refining high-proof alcohol. Although there were good wines in this era, their alcohol content was generally low. Chu Jing poured the best bottles of strong liquor he bought into the distillation pot, then slowly heated it over a stove. Guo Xiaolan took on the task of watching the fire. She controlled the heat skillfully, keeping it steady and moderate. As the temperature rose, the alcohol vapor traveled through a tube into the condenser. Cold water circulated around it, causing the clear, water-like liquid, rich in strong aroma, to drip out into a prepared ceramic jar. "Wow, it really changed. It's as clear as water." Lin Jiro leaned close to the condenser, watching intently. Her small nose sniffed eagerly. Such a strong smell of alcohol. Much more intense than before. Li Lingxue also looked curiously, then neatly recorded in her notebook. At the 3rd watch of the night, about 3 gene of first distillation alcohol was obtained, clear in color and strong in flavor. The first step was successful, boosting Chu Jing's confidence. Next was the initial extraction of the fragrance. He chose the most fragrant dried jasmine flowers and placed them in a smaller distillation device. Using steam distillation, he collected the aromatic condensate. This process required patience and precise control of the heat. Guo Xiaolan stayed close to the stove, beads of sweat forming on her forehead, but she didn't bother to wipe them. Lin Jiro and Li Lingxue quietly assisted, passing tools and changing cold water. The 3 women worked together more smoothly. When the first small bottle of transparent liquid with a delicate jasmine scent was collected, the entire workshop was filled with a refreshing fragrance. Such a wonderful smell. Lin Jiro took a deep breath, closing her eyes in delight. "This scent is pure and distant, like it's lingering, more precious than ordinary flower fragrances," Guo Xiaolan praised, looking at Chu Jing with admiration. She originally thought her husband's perfume was similar to ointments or sachets, but she never expected it to be such a clear, pure liquid. Li Lingxue carefully sniffed the small bottle of perfume, a happy smile on her pale face. She softly said, "It smells so good." Chu Jing also felt a sense of achievement, but he knew this was just a rough extract. It still needed to sit and age, and be mixed properly before becoming real perfume. But starting is always the hardest part. Once the first step is done, the rest will be easier. Next is soap. This part is a bit simpler, but still requires careful work. Chu Jing directed the melting of pig fat and slowly mixing it with lye water, stirring constantly. This is a tiring job. Chu Jing personally took charge, holding a large wooden spoon and stirring vigorously in a clay jar. His 3 wives took turns wiping his sweat and handing him water. "Husband, how long do we have to keep stirring like this?" Lin Jiro looked at Chu Jing's sweaty forehead, feeling a bit worried. "We need to stir until it becomes thick and sticky, like a paste." Chu Jing panted and smiled. "This takes strength. Once we make money, we can hire someone to do it." As the fat and lye water kept stirring, they slowly reacted and turned into soap. The color and texture gradually changed. Chu Jing thought it was ready, so he poured some of the soap mixture into small wooden molds he prepared. The rest, he tried adding some finely ground jasmine powder and a small amount of jasmine fragrance extracted earlier, planning to make fragrant, colored soap. "Okay, put these molds in a cool place. When they harden and set, they're done," Chu Jing said, putting down the wooden spoon and massaging his sore arms. Looking at the pale yellow paste slowly solidifying in the molds, and the clear perfume in the small bottle beside them, along with the faint aroma of wine and flowers lingering in the air, the 3 wives looked dreamy. They had personally helped make these magical items. These seemingly ordinary materials, in their husbands' hands, could turn into such wonderful and precious objects. "Husband, you are so amazing." Lin Jiro couldn't help but hug Chu Jing's arm, her eyes shining with admiration. Li Lingxue also nodded strongly. Though she didn't speak, her sparkling eyes showed everything. Guo Xiaolan walked over to the finished products, examined them carefully, and sniffed them. Then she turned around and smiled at Chu Jingyan. Her gentle and proud smile almost seemed to drown people. "I believe that what my husband has made will surely cause a sensation in Heian, and even in the entire Qingyuan prefecture." Chu Jingyan felt a little proud from his wife's praise, but mostly he was satisfied. He looked around their somewhat messy but lively workshop, seeing the tired yet excited blush on his 3 wives' faces. He suddenly felt very confident. This is just the beginning. When Miss Wang comes tomorrow, we'll give her a big surprise. From now on, our family won't just rely on these to make money. We want you all to live good lives, wear the best clothes, wear the finest jewelry, and no one will dare to bully us anymore. As night deepened, the small courtyard was warm and bright with light. The stove was out, tools put away, and the half-finished soaps and perfumes quietly waited to transform. Chu Jingyan and his 3 wives had a simple dinner. Though tired, they all felt hopeful about tomorrow. It was a night full of hope and lively energy belonging to them. On the other side of Heian County, in Wang Xinzhong's study, which was decorated elegantly but had a gloomy feel, the atmosphere was not as bright as in Chu Jingyan's small courtyard. Captain Zhao hunched over and exaggeratedly reported his experience of being humiliated in Xiahe village today, especially emphasizing how arrogant Chu Jingyan was when he took out that token. "Young Master Wang, you didn't see it. That Chu Jingyan, a poor drifter, relied on the token from the young lady and was almost as proud as if he owned the world." And his 3 wives. Zhao paused deliberately, glancing at Wang Xinzhong's face. Wang Xinzhong's face was dark, and he tapped his purple sandalwood desk with his fingers. When he heard about the 3 wives, his tapping slowed slightly, and he raised an eyebrow. "Oh, he's just a common drifter listed as a bachelor. Where did he get 3 wives? According to the law, he can barely have one." "Exactly." Zhao clapped his thigh and grinned slyly. "But he has them anyway. And, haha, I won't hide it from the young master. 2 of them are truly exceptional. One, surnamed Gua, with that demeanor and appearance. I've traveled all over the south and north, but I've never seen anyone so beautiful, like a fairy descending from the heavens. Though she's a bit cold. Another person with the surname Lin, who is a bit lame, but that face. TSK, especially those eyes. One blue, one amber, so captivating. I don't know what kind of good luck Chu Jing had." As he spoke, he watched Wang Xinzhong's expression. Sure enough, upon hearing this, Wang Xinzhong's originally cold gaze suddenly sharpened, as if something uncomfortable was writhing deep inside him. "Was Xiaolan, Lin Jiro?" Wang Xinzhong's mind flashed back to the 2 figures behind Chu Jing when he caused trouble for Chu Jing. He was immediately drawn to them at first glance. Now, with Captain Zhao's description, the cold, unique aura and exotic looks became even clearer, like claws scratching inside his heart, both itchy and hot. They are top tier, and there are 2 of them. A common thug. Why does he deserve such stunning women? And 2, not to mention, that bastard also ruined his plan to frame Wang Qingyao. Old grudges and new hatred, combined with a sudden surge of possessiveness, instantly ignited a wicked fire in Wang Xinzhong's heart. He seemed to already see those 2 beauties being taken away from Chu Jing, trembling and kneeling before him, allowing him to do as he pleased. Meanwhile, Chu Jing could only watch helplessly, his expression probably very impressive. "Huh. Chu Jing." Wang Xinzhong squeezed out this name from between his teeth, his voice as cold as ice shards. "A mere lowly thug, and he dares to have such beauties? And dares to ruin my good plans." He suddenly looked at Captain Zhao. "Are you sure those 2 women are officially assigned by the government? No tricks involved?" Captain Zhao's spirit lifted, sensing an opportunity to show off. He hurriedly replied, "Young master, rest assured. From what I've heard, Chu Jing is just a common vagrant. According to the marriage regulations, he can only marry a low-status wife, maybe not even qualified. Now he has 3 women around him, 2 of whom are so outstanding. There must be something fishy going on. It's definitely crooked, or someone is cheating." A wicked smile appeared on Wang Xinzhong's face. "Good. Mismatched pairing, fraud and corruption. These are perfect tools." He stood up, paced a few steps in the study, his eyes flickering. A malicious plan quickly took shape. Wang Qingyao wants to protect him, right? She has the token, doesn't she? Wang Xinzhong sneered. "Fine, I'll let her protect him enough. Captain Zhao, you did a good job this time. This is your reward." He casually took a silver ingot from the drawer and threw it over. Captain Zhao hurriedly caught it, weighed it, and it was about 10 taels. His face lit up with joy. Thank you, young master, for your reward. I am willing to serve you with all my heart. Wang Xianzhong nodded with satisfaction. You can go back and wait for news. If this matter succeeds, I will ensure you have a bright future. At least, you won't have to patrol the streets over trivial things every day. Captain Zhao was overjoyed, bowed repeatedly, and gratefully withdrew. Getting connected to the Wang family's young master, even just a small link, is enough for me to boast about and enjoy for a while. Only Wang Xianzhong remained in the study. He walked to the window, looking in the general direction of Chu Jing's home, his eyes filled with greed and cruelty almost spilling out. Chu Jing, do you think having Wang Qingyao's token means everything is settled? I will show you what rules and power really mean, he whispered to himself, like a venomous snake spitting. He quickly returned to his desk, spread out some paper, and began writing a letter. At the same time, he ordered his trusted servant, go, prepare a generous gift, something valuable but not flashy. Find 2 clever people, send them out tonight to Qingyuan Prefecture, and give the letter to Manager Chun, who oversees the marriage registry and correction. Tell him that there's a clear case of performance fraud and mismatched marriages in Hehe Village, Hehe County, which has a very bad impact. Insist that he enforce justice impartially and come personally to investigate and handle the case. Once it's done, I will reward him handsomely. He thought for a moment and added sinisterly. Spread some rumors, say that our Miss Wang seems to have some unclear connection to this fraud case. Maybe she was confused or deceived by her subordinates. The trusted servant left at his command. Wang Xianzhong put down his brush, dried the ink, and a cruel smile appeared on his face, confident of victory. As soon as that official named Chen arrives, he will accuse Chu Jing of violating rules by taking a wife. If Wang Qingyao intervenes to protect him, it would be interfering with the court's laws and covering up corruption. When the news reaches the family, the elders who are already unhappy about Wang Qingyao managing the family's affairs will definitely use this as an excuse. By then, Wang Qingyao might not only lose her chance to become the head of Qingyuan Prefecture, but also struggle to keep her small estate in Hehe County. She might even be forcibly recalled and forced into a marriage alliance. Without Wang Qingyao's protection and with the charges confirmed, Chu Jing's 2 beautiful wives would naturally be taken back by the authorities, according to the law. At that time, he could spend some money to, legally, buy back the 2 women who had been mismatched and taken away. Wouldn't that be a natural solution? Chu Jing, oh Chu Jing, your good days are over. I will happily take your beauties. Wang Xianzhong picked up his teacup, took a gentle sip, as if he had already tasted the sweetness of victory and conquest. A sneaky plan, like vines growing in the dark night, quietly spread toward the hopeful little courtyard in the east of the city. Chu Jing's small courtyard finally became quiet. The moonlight shone softly through the new paper on the windows into the east room. Now, it is Chu Jing's bedroom with his 3 wives. The most noticeable thing in the room is the large custom-made wooden bed, sturdy and spacious enough for 4 people to lie comfortably. At this moment, Gui Xiaolan was sitting by the bed, slowly combing her long hair with a comb. Lin Jiro was carefully folding the clothes she had changed out of. Li Lingxue sat on a small stool by the bed, under the oil lamp's light, gently applying jade skin ointment to her face using a small round mirror taken from Chu Jing's system, which made her face look especially clear. Chu Jing finished washing and came in, seeing this peaceful and warm scene. He walked over to Li Lingxue, bent down to look carefully at her profile. The effect is good, Chu Jing nodded, with a tone of approval. It's a bit lighter than yesterday, and the edges are starting to close. Lingxue, keep applying it regularly. Soon, these scars will be gone, and you'll look like a beautiful little fairy again. Li Lingxue paused slightly in her movements, secretly looked up at Chu Jing in the mirror. Under the candlelight, her eyes, always shy, suddenly sparkled with surprise, but then was covered by a hint of worry. She instinctively wanted to cover her face with a cloth, raising her hand halfway, but then lowering it again. Really? Can it all really heal? She asked in a tiny voice, full of disbelief and hope. She trusted Chu Jing's medical skills very much. After all, her husband had even saved someone who was drowned, though the method was a bit embarrassing. Recently, the scar on her face, which once made her feel miserable and ashamed to show her face, is visibly fading and smoothing out. This change gives her hope, stronger than any words. Who doesn't want to be beautiful? Li Lingxue used to cover her face with a cloth towel, not only because of her low self-esteem, but also because she didn't want her ugly appearance to shame her husband. Now, hope is right in front of her, and her heart is filled with a mix of sweet and sour feelings. Of course I can, Chu Jing said confidently, rubbing her head gently. Your face looks scary, but the injury isn't deep. With the right medicine, new skin will grow, and it will be fine. When that happens, who will still say my Lingxue isn't pretty? Gui Xiaolan put down her comb and came over, carefully examining Li Lingxue's cheek under the light. Her cold eyebrows softened. It's really much better. Sister Lingxue, don't worry. If your husband says you'll get better, then you definitely will. Lin Jiro also came closer, her unusual eyes shining like gemstones in the light. She genuinely cheered for Li Lingxue. That's great, Lingxue. Once you're better, we'll go shopping together for pretty blush and powder. She smiled happily, her eyes curved with joy. But as she kept smiling, her gaze unintentionally fell on her awkward left foot. The smile faded a little, and a quick flash of sadness and low self-esteem crossed her eyes. She quietly hid her left foot in the shadows. This tiny change in her mood didn't escape Chu Jing and Gui Xiaolan, who had been paying close attention. Li Lingxue sensed that Lin Jiro was feeling down. She put down her mirror and ointment, gently holding Lin Jiro's hand with concern in her eyes. Jiro, sister. Gui Xiaolan also silently sighed, looking at Lin Jiro's foot with pity. The atmosphere in the room suddenly shifted from happiness to a bit of sadness. Chu Jing's heart tightened, knowing that this girl was upset about her foot again. He sat down by the bed and gently pulled Lin Jiro to sit beside him. Why are you overthinking again? Chu Jing's voice was soft but firm, with a tone of unquestionable reassurance. Look at your husband. Lin Jiro raised her eyes. Her amber and gray-blue eyes were already misty, but she held back her tears and didn't let them fall. She just bit her lip and gently shook her head. It's nothing. Husband, I'm fine. Chu Jing gently pinched her cheek and asked, "Are you worried about Ling Shui getting better and forgetting about your own foot?" Hearing this, Lin Jiro's eyes turned redder. She lowered her head and her voice trembled a little. I am just a cripple, a monster with different eyes. I don't deserve my husband's kindness." "That's nonsense." Chu Jing interrupted her seriously. "What monster? Look at Zizhu's eyes, so special and beautiful. Others want them, but can't have them. As for your foot," he slowed his voice, took Lin Jiro's left hand, and gently pressed a spot on her ankle. "Here, and here, sometimes it feels sore and swollen, especially after walking for a long time." Lin Jiro nodded in surprise. "Yes, that's good," Chu Jing said casually. "Your foot isn't naturally like this, and it can be fixed. It was just a dislocated bone that wasn't set properly at first, so it healed crooked. Judging by your condition, the injury probably happened about a year ago." Hearing this, Lin Jiro remembered some painful memories and shivered slightly, softly saying, "It's not been long, so your tendons and muscles haven't fully set yet." Chu Jing continued, as if explaining something simple. "It just needs a small operation to cut the crooked part and realign it so it can grow properly. The main issues now are, first, your body is still a bit weak, so you need to rest and build up your strength. Second, I don't have the right tools at hand." He leaned closer, looked in her eyes, and smiled like a clever fox making a promise. "Don't worry, I have a way to get the tools. It just takes some time to prepare. You just need to eat well, sleep well, and take good care of yourself. When the time comes, I'll personally treat your foot. I promise you'll be able to run and jump. Just don't mind being lively. Running around the yard chasing butterflies might give me a headache." His words were both professional and funny, making the complicated surgery sound as simple as fixing a small wooden stool. Lin Jiro was so amused, she almost burst out laughing, but tears finally fell, not from sadness, but from great joy and relief. "Really? Really? Husband, my foot. Can it really get better? Can I walk normally? No more. No more limping." She clutched Chu Jing's sleeve tightly, as if holding onto a lifeline. More real than gold, Chu Jing gently wiped her tears. "When has your husband ever lied to you? Soon, Jiro, you will definitely be one of the most lively and beautiful girls in Heian County." No, in Xingyuan Prefecture, Gua Xiaolan and Li Lingxue listened nearby, their eyes moist, but their faces showed genuine smiles. Gua Xiaolan softly embraced Lin Jiro's trembling shoulders, while Li Lingxue held her hand tightly. The warm glow of the oil lamp cast their shadows on the wall, showing their closeness. For a moment, the room fell silent. Only faint sobs and gentle breathing could be heard. A mix of gratitude, happiness, dependence, and deep warmth flowed silently among the four of them. Lin Jiro leaned on Chu Jing's shoulder, slowly stopping her tears. She looked at the flickering lamp flame and softly whispered, "My husband, what would have happened to us if we hadn't met you?" This sentence deeply touched Gua Xiaolan and Li Lingxue, stirring their innermost feelings. Gua Xiaolan remembered her own despair when her body was covered in sores, and she was waiting to die in a dirty grass pile. If it weren't for Chu Jing's miraculous medicine and careful care, she would have already turned to dust. Li Lingxue touched her increasingly smooth face and thought of the fierce cold that once made her cough so badly she thought she wouldn't survive, along with her burns. If not for her husband, she might have been assigned to someone else, or quietly disappeared in this cold winter. Lin Jiro was even more aware that her limp and strange eyes might still be sold as a rare item by human traffickers, but if she were truly given to some wicked person or left to wander the streets, her fate would be even worse than Gua Xiaolan and Li Lingxue. Three women who once faced despair now snuggled beside the same man, feeling this hard-won warmth and safety, their hearts full of complex feelings. Chu Jing heard the fear and relief in their words and felt his heart soften. He opened his arms and gently pulled all three wives close. Though a little awkward, his intentions were clear. "Let's forget about the past," he said calmly, with a reassuring strength. "Now we are a family. With me here, no one can bully you anymore. Our days will only get better. Now, go to sleep peacefully. Tomorrow, I have a surprise for Miss Wang. Rest well." Under his comfort, the three wives gradually calmed down. The oil lamp was blown out, and four people lay on a specially made big bed. Chu Jing slept on the outer side, with Gua Xiaolan, Lin Jiro, and Li Lingxue in order inside. At first, they felt shy and a little nervous, but soon the exhaustion from a day of travel and the peace after relaxing took over. Listening to each other's gentle breathing and feeling the close warmth of one another, they all fell into deep sleep. The moonlight was like water, quietly covering the small courtyard. It kept out the busy, scheming, and plotting of the day, leaving only a warm, peaceful dreamland inside. Just as Chu Jing was about to drift into sleep, familiar rustling sounds appeared again, accompanied by a faint but clear scent, not floral, but more like a cool, soft, and unique body fragrance. A soft body, with a slight dampness from a recent bath and warmth, naturally slipped into his bed. Compared to the last time in the thatched hut, there was less hesitation and more straightforwardness. Chu Jing instantly woke up, his heart beating faster. With a familiar feeling, he knew it was Gua Xiaolan. But unlike last time, when she was shy and curled up in his arms because of the cold on the ground, this time, he clearly felt that her body was less reserved, more flexible and proactive. She didn't turn her back to him like before, but slightly turned to face him. Moonlight shone through the window, casting light and shadow on her beautiful face. Her eyes, usually calm like a deep pond, now shimmered with a faint, star-like sparkle in the darkness, something Chu Jing had never seen before. She looked at him quietly and honestly. "Hubby, are you still awake?" she asked, her voice softer than usual, with a slight lift at the end, carrying a subtle teasing tone. Chu Jing's throat moved, feeling a bit dry. I was about to sleep. Xiaolan Yu." He couldn't quite tell what Gua Xiaolan was like tonight. Her aura felt a little different. Could it be because they moved from the rough hut to their proper new house? Did she think the environment and timing were just right? Or was her restraint last time just a form of modesty, thinking it wasn't the right moment? Before he could figure it out, Gua Xiaolan made a move. Her slender arm gently wrapped around his waist. Her fingertips lightly brushed the fabric of his sleepwear, causing a subtle shiver. Her face moved a little closer, warm breath brushing his jaw. Her voice soft and almost like a whisper, yet carrying an irresistible charm. "Husband, cold. It was the same excuse, but her tone, expression, and the aura she emitted were completely different from last time. Last time, she was a bit clumsy and coquettish. This time, it felt more like a confident, queen-like invitation. Her eyes looked at him as if to say, I know you know what I'm thinking, and I know you know what you're thinking. Chu Jing's mind suddenly went blank, and the last bits of sleepiness and reason almost vanished under this direct, tempting gaze. He wasn't Lu Xiaohui, and what he held in his arms was his beautiful, well-loved wife, whose affection had long been obvious, and who was now acting unusually bold. If he still couldn't stay calm, he might as well go to a temple and become a statue. Whether she suddenly understood because of the change in environment or for some other reason, the tempting treat was right in front of him. Why not take it? If he kept resisting, he might start to doubt himself. Cold. Chu Jing's voice also became husky. He tightened his arms, pulling her fully into his embrace. Their bodies pressed close, almost feeling each other's rapid heartbeat and rising body temperature. Then, husband will keep you warm. This sentence was like a switch, or rather, a silent permission. Gua Xiaolan's eyes flickered with a faint smile, mischievous and relaxed, as if she had achieved her goal. She didn't speak again, only slightly lifted her chin, closed her eyes, her long eyelashes fluttering like butterfly wings. The moonlight cast a soft silver glow on her face, blending her usual cool aura with complete submission, creating a breathtakingly beautiful scene. Chu Jing no longer hesitated and lowered his head. Gua Xiaolan responded shyly, but perfectly in tune. As night deepened, the room was filled with a gentle, enchanting atmosphere. Across the not-too-far distance, on the other side of the big bed, Lin Jiro and Li Lingxue, who should have been asleep and breathing evenly, moved almost imperceptibly at the same time. Chu Jing woke up to a soft rustling sound, and the faint aroma of porridge drifting in the air. Sunlight filtered through the new paper on the window, making the room bright and cheerful. The bed was already empty, leaving only a faint, unique cool fragrance that belonged to Gua Xiaolan. Outside, there were soft footsteps, gentle conversations, and the clattering of dishes, his three wives busy with their chores. Chu Jing stretched lazily, a slight smile appearing on his face. A deep sense of satisfaction and belonging filled his heart. Thinking back to last night's romantic moments, he felt a warm blush on his face, but inside, he was happily bubbling. After being a wizard for 28 years in his previous life, he never expected that after just a few days of crossing over, he would not only find a partner, but also start a new relationship. His partner was Gua Xiaolan, a stunning and talented, queen-level woman. Yes, this crossing blessing was truly wonderful. After being a wizard for 28 years in his previous life, he never expected that after just a few days of crossing over, he would not only find a partner, but also start a new relationship. His partner was Gua Xiaolan, a stunning and talented, queen, Li Lingxue. The poor girl still had scars on her face and was so shy that she dared not get close to him. Lin Jiro was the most fragile and needed good care. Sigh. After feeling happy, he also felt the heavy weight of responsibility. He had to quickly raise them to be healthy and strong, with rosy cheeks. Just as he was thinking, a system notification suddenly sounded. Ding. Wife Gua Xiaolan and the host have completed a major life event. The system has activated the new wife binding feature. After binding, the host has 1 year to turn her into a true wife, either in body and mind, or in name only. If the goal isn't achieved, the system will punish the host by directly erasing him. Newly bound wife, Wang Qingyao. Favorability. Since she is not yet a wife, it is locked. Keep working hard, host. Complete the marriage task. Hearing this notification, Chu Jing froze in place. What the heck was this system doing? It even forced him to bind a new wife. If he doesn't complete the task, he'll be erased? This was too dangerous. And the system had assigned him Wang Qingyao as the new wife. What kind of joke was this? Although this woman was unbelievably beautiful and worthy of being his wife, Chu Jing was willing. But the problem was, what was Wang Qingyao's identity? A princess from the Langya Wang family. With his current status, was it even possible to marry her? Regarding the idea of mind and body uniting, it is possible, but why would a good girl, with no fame or status, be willing to unite her mind and body with you? Is it force? Or trickery? What kind of thing is this? Chu Jing felt speechless and exhausted from complaining. However, thinking about how failing the task would lead to being erased, he felt anxious. It seemed he had to complete this task, no matter what. What annoyed him most was that he couldn't see Wang Qingyao's affection level, not even to try to use her affection to get system benefits. This new wife's connection, whether active or not, made no difference. The system was really a pain. Just as Chu Jing wanted to curse the system loudly, the door was gently pushed open a crack. Li Lingxue peeked in, saw he was awake, and quietly said, "Husband, you're awake? The washing water and towel are ready." Her voice was soft and gentle, with a hint of sleepiness, and her cough was almost gone. The modern cold medicine produced by the system was very effective against ancient cold and wind illnesses. Although she had only taken medicine for 4 days, her energy and spirit visibly improved. Her eyes still showed some hesitation, but they also sparkled with liveliness. I'm coming." Chu Jing suppressed his worries, responded, and quickly got up. He could only take one step at a time and see how things went. Seeing Li Lingxue quietly place the prepared warm water basin and towel, then lower her head and step back, her obedient and gentle look softened his heart again. After he finished washing up and went to the main hall, breakfast was already served. There was simple porridge, small dishes, and a freshly steamed bun, all steaming hot. Gua Xiaolan was arranging the last pair of chopsticks. When she looked up and saw him, a faint blush quickly flashed across her face. But she quickly returned to her usual cold and composed appearance, as if last night's act of crawling into bed and her enthusiastic response hadn't happened. However, the slight upward curve of her lips and the gentle glow in her eyes, like melting snow, silently announced her good mood. "Husband, please have breakfast," she said calmly, but with more warmth than usual. Chu Jing sat down and glanced at Lin Jiro beside him. Lin Jiro was lowering her head, fiddling with her sleeve. When she felt his gaze, her ears turned bright red. Her unusual eyes quickly glanced at him, then drooped like a startled deer. Her voice was soft and faint, like a mosquito. "Good morning, husband." Today, she seemed especially shy, even forgetting her usual favorite act of helping Chu Jing serve food. Li Lingxue dared not lift her head the whole time. She sipped her porridge quietly, trying to stay unnoticed. The atmosphere at the breakfast table was very tense. Apart from the faint clinking of bowls and chopsticks, only a silent, awkward, and shy understanding filled the air. Last night's noise from next door was very clear to two sensitive and light-sleeping girls, almost like a vivid lesson. Chu Jing knew this well. He wanted to laugh, but also felt a bit guilty toward the girls. He tried to play the role of the head of the family, helping them serve food, eat more, especially Jiro and Lingxue. You need to make up for it. His words made the atmosphere even stranger. Gua Xiaolan was drinking her porridge gracefully, with a deeper smile on her lips. Lin Jiro buried her face even lower, and Li Lingxue almost choked on her porridge. Just as the awkward yet warm scene seemed about to turn into a pink bubble of affection, the courtyard gate was knocked. Is Master Chu at home? It was Wang Qingyao's clear and melodious voice, with a hint of expectation. Chu Jing was stunned. He remembered the system's prompt sound and felt a complex mood. Now that the main guest had arrived, should he tell her, "Girl, do you want to be my wife?" But if he said that now, she might be scared away. She might even think he was crazy or a flirt. His plan to cooperate with her could be completely ruined. He sighed and decided to go with the flow. The best way was to help Wang Qingyao as much as possible. If Wang Qingyao could escape her family's arranged marriage, he would have a chance. Unfortunately, he only had a year, so time was tight. He quickly got up and went to open the door. Outside, Wang Qingyao was dressed in a light yellow dress, fresh and elegant. But she had a faint dark shadow under her eyes, clearly not sleeping well. Behind her was the sleepy-eyed, yawning young maid, Qing'er. Upon seeing Chu Jing, Qing'er couldn't help but whisper complaints. "Young Master Chu, you really caused trouble for our young lady. You said there would be a surprise today." She kept talking about it from last night until this morning, tossing and turning and unable to sleep well. Before dawn, she hurried the maid to get her ready. Wang Qingyao's face flashed with a hint of embarrassment and annoyance at being exposed. She lightly scolded, "Qing'er, stop talking so much." When she turned to Chu Jing, her smile was graceful and proper, but her eyes showed eager curiosity and anticipation that couldn't be hidden. "Young Master Chu, Qingyao dares to come early because she is too curious. She wants to know what exactly the surprise you mentioned yesterday is." Chu Jing looked at this close-knit master and servant pair and smiled as he welcomed them inside. "Miss Wang, you're just in time. I just finished preparing breakfast. If you don't mind, would you like to join us?" "No need. We've already eaten." Wang Qingyao politely declined, but her gaze was already drawn to the trays covered with cloth on the table in the main hall and a strange-shaped wooden frame nearby. "What are these?" Gua Xiaolan and the other two women had already stood up and nodded at Wang Qingyao. Seeing Wang Qingyao and her maid enter, especially noting Wang Qingyao's slightly tired but more charming face and her unhidden hopeful look at Chu Jing, the three women almost simultaneously sounded a warning bell in their hearts. Gua Xiaolan's gentle expression immediately cooled, returning to her usual distant and cold demeanor. She stepped forward, subtly positioning herself slightly ahead of Chu Jing on his side, and said lightly with a hint of a hostess's tone, "Miss Wang has arrived. Husband is having breakfast now. If you're not in a hurry, may I ask you to wait a moment?" Her tone was polite, but carried an air of authority. Lin Jiro quickly reacted, filling a bowl of porridge for Chu Jing and speaking louder than before. "Husband, the porridge is still hot. Please drink it while it's warm." Her eyes, a different color, secretly glanced at Wang Qingyao with a hint of barely noticeable nervousness. Li Lingxue didn't speak, but quietly pushed the small dish of pickled vegetables that Chu Jing liked in front of him, then silently stood on his other side, lowering her gaze, but listening carefully. Chu Jing was a bit amused by his three wives' sudden, coordinated, guard, stance, but also felt warm inside. Of course, there was also a strange sense of helplessness. The way his three wives were so cautious of Wang Qingyao made it difficult for him to complete his task. Now, in front of him, there is not only the task of finding a way to marry Wang Qingyao, but also the need to soothe three wives afterward. He cleared his throat and said, "It's okay. Miss Wang is not a stranger. Since you're here, let's first look at the items." He walked over to the wooden frame object, lifted the cloth covering it, revealing a somewhat rough but complete wooden abacus, with smooth beads and a sturdy frame. "This is..." Wang Qingyao looked at the frame full of beads with curiosity. "It's called an abacus, Chu Jing said, picking up the abacus and moving the beads casually, making a clear clicking sound. "It's a tool used for calculations. Compared to counting rods, it's more convenient and faster. Once you get used to it, you can do addition, subtraction, multiplication, and division with large numbers instantly." He demonstrated a simple addition. At first, Wang Qingyao was a bit confused, but as she watched Chu Jing's fingers fly and the beads collide, a complex number appeared clearly. Her eyes widened more and more. As a business person, she understood the value of this device perfectly. This is practically a tailor-made tool for accountants. It greatly improves efficiency, more than several times. And it seems that as long as you learn the formulas, it's not hard to master. "Young Master Chu, did you really make this?" Wang Qingyao's voice trembled with excitement. She took the abacus, loving it so much she couldn't put it down, gently touching the smooth beads, her eyes shining with admiration. "If this device is widely used, it will change the entire accounting world. You are truly talented, young master. I am deeply impressed." Before she could fully recover from the shock of the abacus, Chu Jing had already moved to the trays. He first opened the first tray, which contained several small porcelain bottles and a small wine jar. "This is high-purity distilled liquor, which I call distilled wine. It's stronger, purer, and more fragrant than the wines available in the market." He uncorked the small wine jar, and a strong, commanding aroma of alcohol immediately filled the air. Wang Qingyao only sniffed once and felt a rush of heat rising, her beautiful eyes widening again. Next was the second tray, holding several smaller, exquisitely shaped glass bottles. These are the lowest-grade transparent containers exchanged from the system shop. Chu Jing picked up one bottle, gently shook it, and the clear liquid inside shimmered with an enchanting glow. He uncorked the bottle, and a pure, elegant, and refreshing jasmine scent spread out, more captivating than any sachet or fragrant cake. "This is perfume." Spray a little on your skin or clothes, and the scent will last long and have many layers. It's far better than ordinary fragrances. Finally, he showed the third tray, which held several light yellow, smooth, and slightly shiny blocks, some embedded with tiny jasmine petals, giving off a fresh smell mixed with a hint of soap and floral notes. This is soap. It's used for washing and bathing, leaving a clean scent. It's better than bath beads or soap cakes and gentler on the skin. Chu Jing explained each item one by one, and with every word, Wang Qingyao's face showed more surprise. When she personally smelled the intoxicating aroma of the perfume, felt the enchanting fragrance, and touched the smooth, moist soap, her cheeks blushed with excitement, and her breathing became slightly quicker. She came from a noble family and was well informed. She knew very well how much of a stir these items would cause among officials, wealthy merchants, and even in the palace once they were released. Each one was enough to start a new trade and bring immense wealth. She looked up at Chu Jing, her gaze now very complicated. At first, she admired his quick thinking and talent. Then she was amazed by his mathematical magic and accounting skills. Now, seeing these dazzling inventions, each capable of driving people crazy, Wang Qingyao's heart was pounding like a drum. This seemingly ordinary man hid many incredible secrets. He was like an endless treasure chest. In her eyes, there was joy, amazement, sharp judgment about big business opportunities, and even a deep, growing admiration and curiosity she hadn't realized herself. How could such a man not make people yearn for him? However, her open admiration and intense gaze, almost overflowing with emotion, were seen very differently by the three ladies nearby. She handed a cup of warm water to Chu Jing, her movements natural and affectionate. Lin Jiro also gathered her courage, took a clean cloth, and offered it to Chu Jing. Husband, wipe your hands. She looked at Wang Qingyao, trying to keep her voice calm. Miss Wang, these things were carefully developed by your husband. They must be quite valuable, right? Her words subtly implied. These are our family's belongings. Li Lingshu didn't speak. She quietly stood half a step behind Chu Jing, quickly glancing at Wang Qingyao. Her eyes, no longer timid as usual, showed clear caution and unease. For a moment, in the small main hall, one side was filled with excited female merchants, as if they had seen a mountain of gold and silver. The other side consisted of three jealous wives, looking like they were facing a great threat. In the middle was Chu Jing, holding a water cup and feeling the faint scent from behind him. He looked at Wang Qingyao's shining eyes. Chu Jing's heart skipped a beat. Was the backyard on fire? He quickly cleared his throat, trying to steer the conversation back on track. Miss Wang, these are still preliminary versions and need further improvement. But you've seen the general effect. As for the cooperation, you can rest assured now, right? As he spoke, he secretly gave his three wives a look that said, don't worry, your husband has it under control. He could only suppress his desire to complete the task and try to bring both sides closer through cooperation. The rest could come later. Wang Qingyao was very clever and immediately sensed the subtle change in the atmosphere inside the room. She suppressed her excitement and the strange feelings inside her, returning to her elegant smile as a noble lady. But her gaze on the few, strange objects, remained hot. Young Master Chu, she said, her voice still trembling slightly from excitement, but more serious now. Wang Qingyao calmed herself from the dizzying feeling of discovering a treasure and focused. She took a deep breath, her eyes shining as she looked at Chu Jing, and began to speak seriously. Young Master Chu, these three strange objects have great potential. The most urgent task is to produce them quickly and gain an advantage. My idea is, she paused briefly, clearly stating her plan. You provide detailed techniques and formulas, and I will find trustworthy craftsmen, set up workshops, buy raw materials, and organize production. This way, we can quickly build up a large scale and make use of my existing contacts and channels to rapidly expand sales. She seemed worried that Chu Jing might misunderstand, so she quickly added, speaking sincerely, young master, rest assured, the core technology will definitely be in your hands. We can sign a strict agreement, split the formula into parts for safekeeping, and key steps will be controlled by someone you trust. Profits will be divided strictly 50-50. Qingyao has no intention of taking anything for herself. She just wants to grow this business quickly, which benefits both of us. This plan sounds very reasonable, efficient, and it makes the best use of Wang Qingyao's current resources. Chu Jing stroked his chin, seriously considering it. He believed Wang Qingyao was sincere in her cooperation, but technology is tricky. Once it leaves his control, the risk increases sharply, even though he had a system task forcing him to marry Wang Qingyao. But he also knew people are unpredictable. If any part goes wrong or the formula leaks, this exclusive deal could fall apart. He preferred to build his own core workshop to control production tightly, only supplying finished products to Wang Qingyao for sales. At least, before marrying this girl, he needed to stay clear-headed. If he got too obsessed with her beauty, he might end up ruining himself. While Chu Jing was pondering how to politely express his concern about keeping the technology secret, Miss Wang, you are mistaken. A clear, pleasant voice interrupted his thoughts, carrying an undeniable tone of authority. Guo Xiaolan stepped forward gracefully, with a subtle protective strength, standing between Chu Jing and Wang Qingyao. She looked calmly at Wang Qingyao and spoke confidently. The formula and technology are the foundation of my husband's livelihood in this cooperation. Entrusting it entirely to outsiders, even with a contract, is too risky. People's hearts are changeable, processes are complicated, and mistakes can happen. Her words were logical and direct, hitting the core issues. She showed no fear or confusion like an ordinary woman facing a big matter, but instead resembled a seasoned general analyzing a battlefield. Wang Qingyao was slightly stunned, not expecting this usually cold and quiet Guo Xiaolan to be the one to speak up. She looked at Chu Jing, who also appeared surprised. Then, his eyes showed interest, and he didn't try to stop them. Instead, he took a small step back and acted like a spectator, as if saying, you two go ahead and talk. Chu Jing was happy to see this situation. Maybe, this was a good chance for his three wives to get along with Wang Qingyao. Even if they argued at first, maybe they would become good friends over time. That wouldn't be a bad thing for him. What surprised Wang Qingyao even more was what happened next. Lin Jiro also moved slightly, standing behind Guo Xiaolan a little further back. She looked a bit nervous, twisting her fingers around her clothes unconsciously. But when she looked at Wang Qingyao, her unusual colored eyes shone with a firm light. Her voice was soft but clear. Miss Wang, Lan Jiejie is right. Husband skills are very special and precious. If anything goes wrong, we will regret it forever. Even trusted craftsmen can't prevent others from spying or from people with bad intentions threatening or tempting them. Her words hinted at her understanding of how dangerous people can be, which was not something an ordinary village girl would know. Li Lingxue didn't speak, but silently moved to the other side of Gua Xiaolan, showing her support without words. She slightly raised her chin, her gaze still a bit shy, but her quiet determination was clear. She softly repeated an important point. Husband's things must be protected. The three women, united in purpose, quickly formed a strong wife-team alliance. Their clear goal was to protect their husband's core skills and also to guard against potential rivals. Chu Jing watched nearby, first surprised, then almost laughed out loud. Wow, he usually saw his three wives as either cold, timid, or quiet. But at this moment, they were so brave. And each one spoke with purpose, hitting the key points. They weren't just pretty faces, they were like hidden advisors and guardians. Especially Gua Xiaolan, with her calm analysis and commanding presence, was incredibly impressive. It seemed he could secretly relax more in the future. No, he should say, let his capable wives show their talents more. Wang Qingyao was even more shocked inside. She had only thought that Chu Jing's three wives looked beautiful and elegant, especially Gua Xiaolan, who was definitely not ordinary. But unexpectedly, they showed such clear understanding and decisive attitude on a major issue involving their own interests. Moreover, these three women clearly took Gua Xiaolan as the main backbone, working together smoothly and not giving an inch. She put away the last bit of contempt she felt because they were women, and her expression became more serious. She knew that today's negotiation partners might not be just Chu Jing. Lady Gua, Lady Lin, Lady Li, Wang Qingyao nodded slightly to the three women, showing equal respect. I understand your concerns. Technology is fundamental, and we must be careful. I wonder if the three of you have any good ideas? I am listening carefully. She turned the question back, both out of respect and as a test. Gua Xiaolan exchanged a glance with Lin Jiro and Li Lingxue. After receiving their slight nods of support, she spoke calmly, clearly having thought it through. I don't dare to claim to have great ideas. In my humble opinion, cooperation should be divided, with clear responsibilities. First, the core technology workshop must be controlled directly by my husband. He will choose the location, oversee construction, and recruit staff. All formulas and key processes must be kept secret. Miss Wang can send people to supervise the accounts, ensuring the materials, output, and supplies are correct. Second, Miss Wang can be responsible for bulk raw material procurement, as well as sales, distribution, and maintaining good relationships with partners. This is where Miss Wang's strengths lie, and she can also leverage the advantages of the Wang family's channels. Third, profit sharing can still be split equally. But my husband will be responsible for all costs and wages of the workshop staff, while Miss Wang will handle the costs and channel expenses related to sales. The final net profit will be split 50-50. Her explanation was clear and organized, turning Chu Jing's vague ideas into concrete plans. And the phrase divide and conquer, clear responsibilities hit Chu Jing's heart perfectly. He manages production, Wang Qingyao handles sales, technology stays secret, channels are used well. This is perfect. Lin Jiro added at the right moment, her voice gentle but firm. This way, we protect the core and also use Miss Wang's strength to expand the market. Your husband can focus on improving the technology and making better products. She thought of Chu Jing's clever ideas and the new inventions he kept coming up with. Li Lingxue also softly but firmly added, using our own workshop, we can trust it. The focus was on emphasizing the words, our own. After hearing this, Wang Qingyao quickly began to think. This plan indeed best protected Chu Jing's technical safety, but it also raised her demands. She needed to invest more resources in building channels and sales, and her control over the production process was reduced. However, thinking from another angle, Chu Jing took on the workshop's costs and risks, which eased her financial pressure a bit. More importantly, this plan was based on stronger trust and clearer division of work, which might make it last longer. She looked at Chu Jing, who was smiling happily while watching his three talented wives, full of admiration and pride. It was clear he was very satisfied with this plan. Wang Qingyao sighed inwardly, knowing this was Chu Jing's bottom line. But she also gained something from it. All three ladies are thoughtful. I admire that, she said with a smile, returning to her sharp businesswoman attitude. This plan is workable, but we need to discuss the details. For example, can I purchase raw materials for young Master Chu at a better price to lower costs? Also, we should decide early on the pricing, target customers, and sales strategies for the first batch of products. The negotiation moved into more specific and professional topics. This time, Chu Jing was no longer alone facing Wang Qingyao. Instead, he watched and approved the decisions. The three wives, working together as a family business alliance, led the main negotiations with Wang Qingyao and the Wang family channels behind her. Gua Xiaolan continued to lead, speaking sharply and logically, not backing down on key points of interest. Lin Jiro carefully added some details that might be overlooked, like seasonal price changes for raw materials and transportation tips. Li Lingxue, though quiet, always pointed out important cost calculation issues when she spoke. Chu Jing sat comfortably nearby, drinking warm water that Li Lingxue poured for him, watching his wives work so hard and smartly for the family. He felt very happy. Was this what it meant to marry three wives? No, it was more like marrying three talented and beautiful, wise helpers, all at once. It seemed that on the road to wealth, as the technical director and final decision-maker, he could finally relax a little. Just a little. Although four women were arguing there, this was clearly a good start. She could see their mutual appreciation. He believed that with his careful planning, their relationship would only get better. In the future, he wouldn't have to worry about jealousy among his wives. He looked out the window at the bright sunshine and felt more hopeful about the days ahead. He also felt a bit lucky. He hadn't married three unattractive or difficult wives, but three treasures. After some lively and friendly discussions, the basic plan was finally agreed upon. Gui Xiaolan led the negotiations, with Lin and Li assisting. Chu Jing nodded, and Wang Qingyao considered everything carefully. Wang Qingyao secretly breathed a sigh of relief. Although the production part was separated, she still held the sales rights and 50% of the profits. The future looked bright. She was thinking about the next steps, discussing the initial funding and raw material deposits. But before she could speak, the sharp-tongued, determined Guo advisor at the negotiation table turned his gaze to her, and a faint, kind smile appeared on his lips. Miss Wang, since the cooperation has been agreed upon, we should now start the work, Guo Xiaolan said calmly, as if commenting on the nice weather. My husband needs to quickly choose a site, build the main workshop, recruit reliable workers, and buy special equipment. All of these require money. Wang Qingyao nodded naturally. She was about to suggest paying part of the costs up front or investing. But Guo Xiaolan changed his tone as if it was obvious. However, the funds my husband previously had have all been used for materials and equipment. There's no extra money now. So, the initial investment, covering land, building materials, recruitment, and deposits for some special raw materials, will need to be borrowed from Miss Wang for the time being. Borrow? Wang Qingyao blinked, thinking she must have heard wrong. Isn't this a partnership? How did it turn into her lending money to Chu Jing to build the workshop? Once the workshop is built and products are made and sold, she still has to share half the profits? This calculation is a bit confusing. Chu Jing, standing nearby, also looked surprised, with his mouth slightly open. Lanner, are you being a bit too forward? Using skills and technology to start the project without initial funds? And having the benefactor pay for the construction of the production base? This business idea is truly a clever move. Gui Xiaolan seemed not to notice the surprised looks on their faces. She continued in her cool, confident tone, explaining clearly and logically. Miss Wang, consider this. Without the initial funds, the workshop cannot be built, and production cannot begin. Without production, there will be no profits to share. Even the samples you see today would remain just samples forever. You are wise and know the value of these 3 items. Are you willing to let them be wasted, missing out on great wealth and opportunities? She paused, giving Miss Wang a knowing look, then added firmly. The money borrowed can be repaid first from the profits or payments from the first batch of finished products. We can sign a formal agreement, and not a single cent will be lost. This is to help speed up our cooperation, so your channels can start earning real money sooner. It's a win-win plan to move forward faster. Miss Wang opened her mouth, but couldn't find words to reply. Yes, without initial funds, everything is just talk. Of course, she didn't want to give up. The few items Chu Jing showed looked like a mountain of gold in her eyes. She was about to dig into it. Why give up just because she lacked a shovel? The temptation was too strong. She couldn't resist. She even looked at Chu Jing,